Hello again to the world, to the CCW in Berlin. I'm happy to have a wonderful speaker which I work with since quite a while in this very spontaneous session. We are at the virtual booth of Xbox at the CCW in Berlin, where you see us on a quite huge wall. And I talked to Philipe Vanhoute, who will explain himself in a minute. My name is Detlev Artelt from Xbox, and Philipe, tell us a little bit who you are, what you are doing.
Yes, absolutely. Good to be with you and with everybody listening. So, simply put, I'm a person that for several decades has enjoyed himself in managerial and other capacities in the IT and communications industry. And over the last 10, 15 years, I've become very fascinated with the better world of work. And in that sense, I like to bring various disciplines to a new level, how we deal with spaces, how we deal with digital platforms, and how, most importantly, as human beings, we can work better to make sure that the businesses do well, direction the customers. That's a quick one. And I have a lot of areas of passion, and I'm sure that Detlev will drag me into these topics very soon.
No problem. We both met in the unified communication world. Formerly in your role with a headset company, and I was praying unified communication for ages. Now some company already understood this, so we go more into the direction of where do we like to work and what kind of environment are we looking for. And lately we had a chance to have a longer discussion about how green, how different a work environment might be. And I like to get a few key figures from your side from that discussion, because I think this is something where many people not even think about.
Yeah, sure. Well, first of all, things have changed, but the basic philosophies still are the same. The philosophy is that people should be allowed to work in places, digital and virtual, that are best for the type of work and for the type of person that they are, right? Now, when I got going, it was largely about finding the best place in the office. Very soon thereafter, people were let loose and could go and work from home. Since then, over the last 5 years, we've seen an enormous surge in co-working, yeah? And I'm now becoming a big evangelist around working in nature, yeah? Because as human beings, we are just the better animals, and animals were born and created to be in nature. And unfortunately, nature is now something that we are thinking of during vacations or during the weekend, but we forget that nature is just outdoors, and we can go for a walk and have maybe this conference call one day whilst walking around. At the same time, we can bring nature inside. So what we're saying is that the principles are the same. It's called activity-based working, but the palette of technology and the palette of spaces that is now available is unlimited. So therefore, there's a very, very good chance, provided that people are educated and that the managers allow this, because they need to relax a bit too, then there's a lot of goodness, and that's my driver. I've seen how it works, I've seen the beauty, the happiness, and therefore we're not done evangelizing about this new way of working. Are we not, Detlev?
No, there's still a long way to go. But what I like on this is, as the time I started 10, 15 years ago with unified communication, my vision was we are allowed to work again in the villages, in the small cities where I, for example, grew up, and where we have all that green around us, where we have a way more healthy environment around us, where we plant our own whatever, vegetable, fruits and so on. But this might be as well a place to work. And as we just had this chat, all this come back to me, and I said, well, we have to go deeper into that direction.
Absolutely, absolutely. And in fact, Germany is actually leading in a number of these things. Like in East Germany, there is a co-working space which sponsoring of the local lender, is inviting people, particularly researchers, authors and things like that, to go back and to work in nature to be inspired. A lot of creativity comes from nature, right? So a lot of us are no longer doing transactional work. We are doing the exceptional things, the things that human beings do today, not that computers and AI can copy. And therefore, anybody that has know-how work to be done is better close to nature, because nature is the catalyst and the engine for creativity.
Yeah, I'm again with you because I spent many of my days in my home office overlooking nature, and I never understood why I feel so positive and so creative. But with the discussion we had and with the facts, this created quite a huge understanding. Whenever I sit on my kitchen table overlooking the wonderful Belgium, with a lot of green and distance and so on, it creates a positive vibe.
Well, let me give you the example. So the company, I was thinking about the name. The company in former East Germany is called Coconut. It's like coconut with an A at the end, Coconut. And it stands for collaboration and concentration in nature. If you ask me what are the things that we do in business in general, we do two things. We are doing some individual focused work for which we need concentration, and then we need to work with others to share and grow the value that we have offered. So collaboration and concentration in nature. It's done by way of example. This is the best place in the world. It's just 80 kilometers from Berlin.
Okay, we will look it up and we'll see what place it is, and actually it gives me a nice opportunity to stop by there for one of my next visits to Berlin, which I normally do once a month. So that sounds interesting. You have a few other topics on your list you probably like to talk about.
Well, yes, and of course, I remember vividly the days that I could make presentations at the big event in Berlin that you're at this moment. And I remember there that I wanted to remind people how important it is to educate young people in the business of customer interaction. Yeah, let's face it, no matter how much automation there is, talking to a customer, listening to a customer, whether that is face-to-face or in a virtual way, is mega important. In this world of social media where people think that they can communicate with their fingers for the rest of their lives, or maybe with TikTok or something like that, I think it's important that people realize that learning how to serve others face-to-face or over the phone is a critical skill. So therefore, customer interaction professionalism is something that should be mandated to be learned as part of every secondary school program. If there is summer jobs that kids should be doing at the age of 16, invite them in a customer interaction center. Show them how powerful it is to help old, young people remotely through a phone. Once you've done that and you added a summer job working in a hotel or a cafe and you can meet people face to face, these are the foundations for human value add. And I think as an industry, we have not done enough to promote the importance of what I call servitude. Servitude is a value in people whereby you take the time to listen, understand a person's problem, rational or emotional, and then you project yourself into that situation and you use all the resources to your hand, empathy, know-how to help people. So therefore, sometimes we're in the woods, like too much in the detail of the technology. We must do a much better job to explain to people that one of the first jobs that people should learn, young people, is to deal with people in a high empathy fashion. So that's my first message as to the importance of the industry, because I can imagine that a lot of people are saying, hey, the last thing I'm going to do is start a low-paid job in a contact center. That's the wrong way of looking at it.
And this is different nowadays. It's not anymore a low-paid job. I had a talk with some Verdi people from the you know what Verdi is doing, and these are not longer the people who get the minimum wages. You need people with skills like you just described it. You need people who are able to talk on video. You need people who are able to interact with people as you learn it. For example, if you work in a bar, if you work somewhere else, to get these skills to be able to interact even quickly and on different channels. And this is what the industry of customer service need and will use more, because telephone and email is not close to death, but it's not the most important communication channels.
Exactly. Well, and therefore the second topic is that for years we have said that people can do these customer interaction jobs from home as much as they can do it from their call or contact center. So my question to you is there progress in Germany in contact centers allowing or stimulating their people to be working from home, not necessarily all the days, but at least a couple of days in the week? Is that something which is getting popular?
We see it more and more. We at Ixvox had a long blog post some time ago that an optimum of working from home or mobile and in office by 50-50 or 2.5 days working somewhere else and in the office is a good mix. The call or the talk I have at 3 o'clock with another company, with Guido Teufen from Sich, is exactly about this. There he explains me how they do call center services work at home.
Yes.
And there are other people who are pushing this business a bit more, but it's still not as easy as we think, because we are Germany and change is a different story.
Well, I think anything you need to support in that, I would like to help. It's absolutely right that you should not exaggerate. I remember the tests that we did with Plantronics 6 or 7 years ago, and it was very clear that the maximum for the people on average was 3 days a week.
Yeah.
Why? Because if you work all the time from home, there is an isolation that happens from the organization that cannot be compensated with virtual, I would say, parties and things like that. So that's the maximum. Secondarily, for people which are working from home, they need to be much more self-directed, and they need to have disciplines to organize their own day. And therefore, that brings me to the topic of what I would call the sort of corporate athlete. It's the person that works virtually, is a professional, and also works from home, but needs to have the discipline to stop and get from behind the computer or telephone every hour to go and look outside the window. At least at minimum every morning and afternoon to go for a walk of half an hour at minimum. Needs to take the lunch box outside. You know where I'm heading with this.
Yeah.
Because we started a movement called Ozadi, and Ozadi stands for fulfillment and realization through nature at work. So we know that the consequences of people working from home only is that they will have less physical movement. They will therefore be getting and gaining a bit of weight. And therefore, it's very important that for people which are working from home, that they have a natural environment around them. And that one day, if they can, they should be working with good Wi-Fi from the terrace and have some birds participating in the discussion with the customers, because birds put people at ease. So you could actually put that, I would say, very stressed customer at ease by saying, hey, why don't you listen to my bird? Or you want to see the beautiful flowers in my garden? I don't think it's impossible.
Yeah, no, I think it's possible as well. It's in some way, and this is again something where we met in ideas. My plan for this spring is to have a nice desk in my garden, but still with a little bit roof on top, because it's sometimes quite wet, with a good Wi-Fi connection outside, to be able to sit there and watch the cats, watch the birds, and have a scenery until it's not too cold or whatever. But even this could be solved in a different way on the fresh air. So, and this is something where we all could easily work.
Yeah. Now, the other thing I wanted to mention is we just talked about the individual, the professional, and the discipline that he needs to have. Yeah. The other thing is that managing a distributed team as a team leader or a manager is not a natural thing either. And therefore, I want to come to the topic of distributed leadership. Distributed leadership is a series of skills and competencies that a manager needs to know about. I mean, it's a couple of things. You and I have talked about this, about my collaboration with the University of Calgary in Alberta, where they have an assessment and a development tool for managers, which is called Distributed Work Success. And it covers many things, too much for here to cover, but it has to do with performance management. How do you drive people to be with the noses in the right direction? How do you organize and manage people in a world of know-how work? What is the choice of communication methods? How do you create trust? How does the manager show what is a good work-life balance? How does he work by example? How does he show interest in that balance with the employees and ask them not to work too much, too long in one session? But it's also to do with cultural diversity. I mean, don't forget that in our industry of customer interaction, there is people who never in one full year see their manager, right? I mean, and that is just not good. We need to make sure that there is enough opportunities for human beings to meet each other. So and that is an element of education. We need education for leaders to understand that they can truly, I would say, inspire and lead people at a distance. That's not a given.
No, it's not easy, and this is what we had in another session already today, where somebody explained how he get a team which got accidentally their office removed, and the next office of that company would be 200 kilometers away or 2 hours in one direction. They moved themselves into a more virtual team, and he explained quite powerful how they did, and having some studies and other activities behind this would it even make it more easy. Our time is running. We always have not enough time to talk, and I'm looking forward to meet you soon again somewhere. But to give these people from our industry and maybe even all the other typical mid-size companies something to think about it. What would be the message you like to give them for 2020?
Well, the message for 2020 is to wake up and realize that in this business, in this industry, it's all about people. It's about your people, the associates that are working for you and the customers that you deal with, right? And that therefore you need to have a good understanding about how humans are functioning, understand the psychology, understand the importance of autonomy of people, self-determination, understand the importance of ergonomics, software ergonomics, hardware ergonomics, ergonomics of furniture. Focus on people. And if you are a manager that has only learned about marketing or finance or engineering, that's not enough. You need to go and educate yourself to understand that human beings are extremely capable, have a lot of potential, but that in the way that you are currently doing your business, that you are not realizing the potential that your people have, right? Yeah. And if you show the little interest in people, that you really want to understand them and how they live and their constraints, that most of your associates and customers will be so pleased that somebody takes personal interest. And if you focus on these things, these human aspects, then you're going to be able to harvest much more from your customers, from your employees. These are my parting words.
That's wonderful. All to the people, and we will try to make one sentence out of it and put it under your video, which we put on our virtual booth website later on today. Thank you for your time. It's just a wonderful. We could go on like this for an hour, I know, and it won't get any less interesting. So all my greets back to you. You are at the moment in?
I'm actually in Belgium, and the weather is nice for a change. So I have my wife ready, and we're going to make an impromptu walk on the Belgian shores of the coastline.
Oh, that's nice. I would love to be there as well. We will have to do one more interview here in the city of Aachen and clean up our office today. And maybe this evening I will see what we can do outside. Thank you very much, Philipe.
Fantastic. Bye-bye, Detlev.
Bye.